Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Tree the LPC. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Self-Aware and Effed Up. So today, I have an amazing guest with me. He is my brother from another mother, Noel Jordan. He is the Relentless Motivator. He is an author, motivational speaker, spiritual leader, like life coach. He does it all. He is absolutely amazing. And he's going to be sharing some tips with you guys on how to pursue your passion and be relentless in the things that you go after in life. Make sure you guys stay tuned and let us know what you think about the show afterwards. Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Tree the LPC, here for another episode of Self-Aware and Effed Up. So today I have a very special guest for you guys. I wanted to, first of all, start off by saying thank you guys so much for tuning in to the last couple of episodes. I really appreciate the love and support. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot from listening to the podcast, and hopefully it's opening you up to different sectors in mental health that maybe you haven't taken a look at before. But today's guest is an absolutely amazing person. He is someone that I call a brother from another mother. He's been in my life for over 20 years. It was so crazy. I was counting the years the other day when he had shared a Facebook post, and I really am excited to talk with him tonight because he is one of those people that has definitely been in my corner for the last 2 decades. And I am very, very proud to call him my brother, my friend, my confidant. His name is Noel Jordan. He is the Relentless Motivator. He's a podcast host. He's a minister. I don't know if he still ministers anymore. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. And he's also definitely an author. He's a motivational speaker. He does pretty much everything from coaching people, life coaching. He is just an all-around guru of things when it relates to just being able to help people walk in their purpose. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the show my brother from another mother, Noel Jordan. How you doing tonight, Ken?
I'm good. Can we talk about that intro though? Let's go.
Yes, we can. I'm so happy to have you here tonight, man. I'm so humbled to just have you be a part of this vision and motivating me and pushing me all of those years. I said in the post, a couple of days ago, I was talking about how when I did this play, you were always on my back, always pushing me to be a better version of myself and getting on my last nerve when it really came down to it, because it's like, I can't do anything without you coming back telling me, oh, when are you going to do another one? Oh, that ain't good enough. So tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and how you became this relentless motivator that you are today.
Wow. Well, it goes back for me. It goes all the way back to when I was younger. I used to game bang. So what I did as far as the relentless motivator, I took that mindset that I had from back then. And I used it instead of for something negative. I started using it for something positive.
Yeah.
And I went through a moment in my life after writing my first book. And I gave up. I got discouraged, all kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And I was playing 2K, honestly, NBA 2K, and the word relentless hit me.
Wow.
And it started growing then, and then it hit 2020. Me and my wife started going through some rough patches at the moment. It was just, like your normal communication and stuff. And literally before the country shut down, I was stuck with just myself. And in that moment, I realized I had to become relentless. I had to become relentless in my marriage. I had to become relentless with myself. So in that moment, during that time of being shut down, working from home, I wrote the book, Be Relentless.
Wow.
And that was what was birthing in me for so many years of that relentless. The relentless motivator became birth. Just like you said, I push people.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one that say that. But I push people to be the best version of themselves because it's so much more in us. And sometimes we allow the blocks in our mind, in our lives to stop us.
Yeah.
And you got to push forward. And in my mindset as the relentless motivator, I told you, I tied it in from the streets. So in my mindset, I'm thinking you got to kick in the door and get what you want.
Yeah.
On the streets, we weren't asking can I please have this money? Can I please? We weren't asking, can I please?
Okay.
It was like, Negro, if you don't, it was an aggressive approach.
Okay. So aggressive like you were on the streets with your business and with being able to push other people to reach their full potential.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And you know, and that's what I had to learn, because let's be real. For me, in between what I didn't discuss, in between the change and where I am now, was church. And for me, church was teaching me how to be just like everybody else.
Wow.
And I felt like church was, like, in a sense, making me soft. It wasn't making me to be the person who I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, because a lot of times we get caught up in doctrine, and you got to have the pastor's approval to be able to do this and do that. And it can definitely really mess with you.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and after, I'm still going through that healing phase. After dealing with a lot of stuff, I had to push away from it. And some of those things that made me shrivel in fear, so to speak, it came back up to challenge me. It was like God sent me to that just to test me to see what I would do. And when I was faced with it, I ain't gonna lie, it started messing with my mind. I started getting fearful and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, wait, hold up. We ain't fit to do this again. You're going to stand up strong and you're going to go through this. We're not going to do any relapse.
Yeah.
We're going through this hard.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. And like, especially in an age where we are right now, where so many things that we do are rooted in like social media and popularity and who gets the most views and who gets the most likes. It's hard to kind of keep pushing through when you can see the numbers ain't the math ain't mathing, as they say. And you know that you're putting in the work, and you know that you're hard work and you're persevering and you're doing all of those things, and it's still not lining up. How do you deal with that mentally?
I can give you an example of it this week.
Okay.
Just yet, I'm prepping for my season 3.
Okay.
I'm already doing my batch recording now. Wow. Just yesterday, I had a no call, no show. Today, I had someone cancel on me.
That's so trash.
Yeah. Did it mess with my head a little bit? Yeah, who it wouldn't? And, and I think sometimes we feel like we can't have those feelings. And, I tell people it's all right to have a moment, but don't let your moment last too long.
Right.
So in the midst of that, I had to shake myself like, no, okay, you ain't even fit to do this right here. Because in the midst of this, I realized I had to look at my end result. What was the end result of what I'm trying to do? It's so, and especially for this season for me, it's so many great things happening in the midst of that surrounding just this podcast season. I talked to you about it some, off, whatever you want to say on the phone or whatever.
Gotcha. But I got you, bro.
But I can't let nothing stop me. And I said, despite of what everything looks like, I cannot let this one moment stop me, because there's so you can't focus on the people who don't want to invest in you.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. And that's tough though. Like, especially when you expect the people around you to be there and give you the support and the love that they give to everybody else for free. It's real tough seeing that and watching that.
Well, it takes some mental training. Me and someone were just talking about that yesterday. We talk about working out, all this kind of stuff, but we got to also work on that mental training. So I mentally train myself for some of the worst situations. I could be in a hot room and everybody's talking about, oh, it's hot in here. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot as heck in here. But I learned to train my mindset to stop thinking about it's hot. I stopped thinking about what's my surroundings, and I started thinking about being cool. And even in the midst of being hot, it's like my body starts cooling down. We have to remember this controls everything.
It does. You over there talking some CBT stuff now. Going down my street. But I can definitely dig it. Like as you were saying it, I was thinking about the whole, like in the Marines, I have a cousin who used to always talk about her dad saying pain is weakness leaving the body. And I do that a lot when I'm trying to talk myself through something. And so it kind of sounds like the same thing where you're really having to really reframe your thoughts in order to be able to work through it. And I know it is challenging. I know I have not overcome it. I'm nowhere near that because I get mad at people. I'm very self-aware of that. And I'll pop off real quick. And you seem always so cool and calm when it comes to really just being able to go for what you desire without letting other people get in your way and not letting disappointment keep you from going forward. And that's freaking amazing to me.
And I tell you something else too. It also helps to have a good circle. Mm. I have my people like you that I can vent to.
Okay.
So you will get the side of me that everybody else won't see. You'll see the side of me of, sometimes when I want to cry, when I get frustrated, my wife sees that side of me. But it's like, okay, it's time to get up. It's time to wipe those tears, and it's time to get up and get back in the grind. Mm. It's a matter of how long you're gonna stay here and mourn. What happened? How long you gonna stay here and sit here in this? Right. And I can't sit here and do that. In my mindset, one thing I talk about in Be Relentless, my book, you got to unleash that beast. For me, that beast is a lion. Mm. And even in my meditation, I see myself sitting at the top of a mountain. Wow. Because I'm conquering. Yeah. And I'm not letting nothing stop me. When a lion walks through, the lion is not the toughest animal, in the jungle, in the woods, whatever. Mm. But it's posture. It's like I'm walking through and you better put some respect on my name.
Okay, Birdman. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, and you demand that. You command that even in your voice and how you speak, like you really do. And I always tell you all the time, as much as you push me, like if I had the determination or the motivation or the relentlessness that you had, I would probably be, there's no limit to where I would be right now. And so like, I always admire that about you. I know you say you have to train your brain and you have to be able to really prepare yourself for that. What would you say to other people who maybe feel like they're being held back, or maybe they are letting the voices in their head, not hallucinations, but just regular, their internal critical voice? What would you say to those people who are allowing that to stop them from going after the goals that they have for themselves?
First of all, I'll say write a list. Write a list of the stuff that you want to accomplish.
Write this down. Hold on. Gotcha.
For everything that you want to accomplish. And I was just telling somebody this today, and I talk about this. I'm going back to my book, Be Relentless. Man, that book is awesome. Don't worry. Don't mind me. I'm just pushing myself again.
I got you. Yeah. Promote. Yeah. I'm here for it.
But in my book, I say there's always opposition. The opposition is always there, no matter what goal. So for each one of those goals that you're listing, you already know there's going to be some kind of challenges and struggles that you're gonna face. There's going to be the people on the sidelines that's going to be telling you, oh, I wouldn't do that. It don't even sound like a good idea. But then there comes the things that you don't even expect.
Yeah.
I've learned, it'll take, you may get me one time, you may get me twice, but that third time, I'll be doggone if you get me that third time, because what I do is I start mentally training myself now for worse situations. Because the first and the second time has taught me some things. Because one thing about it, those situations, if you hadn't conquered it yet, it's going to come back around again.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to, you write those things down. You see some of the stuff, you're going to see the challenges. And sometimes the challenges are in us. Yeah. So what are some of the things that I need to change in myself in order to get to this point? What are some things in my mindset? I got to get rid of these fears. I got to get rid of these self-doubts. And for each thing, self-doubt is going to be there. Sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes self-doubt would try to drag me, and I may procrastinate a little bit. It may drag me just a little bit, but I be doggone if it's going to stop me, because even while it's dragging me, I'm still working on something. Yeah. It may be just a little bit. It may not be the full capacity of everything, but I'm going to still be working on something. That's where my mindset of no days left behind comes from.
Wow.
Because we're going to have those good days. Those good days is easy to work on stuff. But then it's those bad days that we start to drag. It's those bad days that we feel like, okay, I really don't want to do this. What in the world was I thinking? Yeah. But that's when you got to think about, I can't leave no days left behind. Even if I just do a little of what I was doing, that's more than doing nothing at all. Because sometimes when we do nothing at all, we tend to lose traction.
Right.
Compared to if we just doing just a little bit, we're coasting right now, but we're still moving.
Yeah.
We're coasting right now, but we're taking at least one step. We're one step closer compared to being no steps closer.
Right. I definitely get where you're coming from with that. I know for me, and maybe for a lot of people out there, like the challenge is just kind of pushing yourself, like you say, like do a little bit of something. Like if for someone like myself who suffers with depression and anxiety, like how do you push through that? Like when you say don't leave any days behind, like sometimes we have bad days and we don't work on it, and then bad days turn into bad weeks and bad weeks into bad months. Like, for example, we started this podcast back in 2020, right before the pandemic hit, and things kind of went left really quickly. I didn't know how to do editing. I didn't know how to do any of those things, and I sat on it for a while. I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to talk about mental health, but it's just like fear had me in a choke. Like it really did. And then just the uncertainty about how to do things also. So you're saying like create a list, leave no days behind, but sometimes that isn't always feasible once you get into that negative spot. What would you recommend for someone who wants to push through, maybe has that business idea, but they also deal with other mental health conditions? How would you motivate them as a relentless motivator to be able to push through those things? And I mean, I guess you could talk to this from the life coaching perspective as well.
Well, I want to shout out my speakers coach, Jeremy Anderson.
Okay.
The past few weeks we have had some crazy shootings. I haven't said much about it on social media, but internally, I was frustrated. I was aggravated. And I was like, God, how in the world we're going to move past this? And my coach, on the latest podcast episode, they actually talked about this. And he was talking about, you got to be the light. Even, in the midst of everything, you got to understand your assignment. And in the midst of, I'm no therapist, you're the therapist. So I'm
just appreciate that.
I'm just going to say how I handle these things. In the midst of it, I think of my why. I think of the assignment. I think of, I'm in this place right now. In some cases, I'm going through this not just for me. It's painful, but I'm going through it for somebody else too. There's somebody else that may not feel as strong as I do, even in the midst of the depression. Yeah, I feel like it may be beating me down, but there's somebody else that's even worse. I think about the people sometimes.
Okay.
And it's the people that I hear their cries. It's their cries that push me. It's their cries that push me to be that relentless motivator, because they need this push.
Yeah.
The cub needs to push from the lion.
Okay, lion.
And sometimes you have to and it's strategic too. In your speaking, sometimes I'm going hard, but then sometimes there's that soft approach. As a speaker, you have to be skilled too.
Right.
And you have to know within the moments and the message when you got to go hard or when you got to be that skilled physician. And sometimes with that skilled physician, you're giving that soft approach. I'm giving that soft voice. Okay. Because sometimes that soft voice is what's pulling you out. Sometimes we don't always need the aggressiveness. And sometimes I have to remind myself that because I'm so used to being the aggressive.
Okay, because I'm like, where's this soft part when it came to me? Because I haven't gotten any of the soft things. When you gonna do this? When you gonna do that? When you gonna do another play? When you gonna do this? And I'm like, sir, like I got a whole job. Like I gotta make some money. Like who gonna pay for this? So yeah, I haven't seen that skilled surgeon physician part of you, but I'm sure it's in there.
You get it sometimes. It's just not all the time.
I cannot recall. I do not recall. So thank you for sharing that.
Yo, what's going on, fam? This is your boy, K Noel. Look, I hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. So you probably heard me talk about my book a few times. So this is what I decided to do. I'm going to give away 2 free copies of my book to 2 less lucky contestants. So you're asking, I'm sure you're wondering what we got to do. So this is what you have to do. You have to be following me on Instagram at KNoelMotivates and follow Tree the LPC. I mean, you should already be following her anyway. So that's an easy win for you. So once you follow both of us, I need you to text DONE to 404-962-0730. All right, so let's get back to the show.
You mentioned earlier as we were talking a little bit about your history, saying that you kind of approach things the same way that you did coming from the streets and being related to gangs and doing those sort of things. But you also mentioned some things related to the church. And I felt some stuff in my spirit down in my sanctified soul about just your relationship with the church. What does that look like, and how does it impact what you do in terms of your motivational speaking and your ability to coach people into success?
I'll be honest. When I finally decided, because like you introduced me as a minister, I really don't like to go by the term minister anymore.
I'm sorry, my bad.
No, it's cool, but I didn't think that motivation and God could go hand in hand. As crazy as it would think, some people would think that don't make sense. But that's just for me.
Okay.
Because for me, that's kind of like the mindset in there, because you got to be all hype, you got to be Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But I can't go into a school saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I have to be strategic. I have to be the motivator there. Now, can I mention scriptures without saying it's actually a scripture? Yeah. So I had to learn these strategies. And again, it goes back to my coach, Jerry. I learned these things from him.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but in the church, I was thinking, you got to praise your problems away. You got to dance your problems away. And I had to learn for myself. Sometimes that dancing, all I'm doing is getting a workout.
I mean, sometimes you need the workout, though. You want to exercise a little bit. But
well, for the emotion, it does good.
Right.
But what does God want to see more? Are you, after you doing the dancing, after you emotionally break free, what are you spiritually doing now? Are you spiritually moving forward? Are you being obedient to the things that God is telling you to do? Because if we're not doing that, that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
If we're not doing that, then we're going backwards.
Right. Yeah.
And I've come to say this, and this is going to be very unpopular.
Well, let me brace myself for this.
I do not believe churches should be doing counseling unless they have a professional counselor, unless you went through the school. Yes, I know you have the Holy Ghost. Yes, but sometimes God still wants you to go through this X, Y, and Z training.
Yeah, right.
You still have to put in the work, because God could be telling you something and it may sound good. It may sound just like a therapist would say. Some of the stuff you confirmed, some of the stuff that I've said, it sounds just like a therapist, but I don't have the skill. I don't know the approaches. I don't know the language. Gotcha. So I be done went in there. God may drop something in me, but then I start adding myself to it. And if I be done guide them out of something, but then I be done walk them into something else.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
I'm a skilled speaker. I'm not a skilled counselor.
Yeah, but you are a life coach, and I know that a lot of people don't really recognize the differences between the two. I mean, life coaches can do, from my understanding, they can do a lot of what we do as therapists. However, when it comes to processing and dealing with those emotional things, that's where you guys kind of can't cross over into what we do, because you kind of can leave the person at harm. But like, there are a lot of similarities from my understanding.
Well, I had this great sister who taught me some stuff early on.
Okay.
Not to cross that, that line. Shout out to Tree the LPC.
Okay, shouting out. Okay, but no.
So it's certain things I am careful about. Okay. And it's certain things where, and I learned that from my job too. It's certain things and it's certain conversations that you when it's leading down a certain way. Okay, we need to pull the brakes for a moment,
right?
And we need to go. Not we. You need to go this route,
right?
Because there's certain avenues, there's certain roads that I can't carry a person down. That goes back again. I may give you some good stuff, but then because I'm not skilled in that area, I may lead you down something else. Now, right. Can a therapist and a life coach work hand in hand? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it won't be certain stuff that I will be privy to knowing. So I have to be able to motivate and push them. The motivational side, that's me. The therapist deals with the internal stuff. Because there's some internal stuff that I don't know how to deal with. I'm just going to make a mess.
I mean, I get it, but there are a lot of life coaches that do kind of cross that line and that boundary and make it really difficult sometimes for clients, because the therapist knows how to help unpack it, but also package it back up so we can make sure you can be okay until we see you again. And then we unpack, and then we, so there's, like, I always say, like, I have a MS in counseling. However, I see therapy as an art. I do understand that there is a lot of science behind it, but you also have to be skilled and have a certain je ne sais quoi about, like, what you do in your role. And so, like, I could see the life coaches not necessarily having that piece, but I do think it's great that you're able to use your skill set and your tools in order to help a lot more people than what a lot of our counselors right now are able to help, because we're overbooked. Like, we tired. And so we needing respite. And so we definitely need that. But yeah, when you get into some of those process issues, we definitely say refer them, not to me, but refer them to somebody to see them and help them out with those things. But going back to the church theme, and we got to talk about it because I know we talked about it a lot offline. Church hurt. How do you feel like that is impacting you and maybe even the community at large as it relates to dealing with church hurt? And I know I'm going to say within the Black community, but it can go to other communities as well, obviously.
I think sometimes it has done a lot of harm to people. And I think, just like myself, I'm a motivator.
Right.
And in some cases, the pastor can want something for somebody so bad that on the pulpit, as we call it, I don't know if they still call it that, but as they call it.
You've been to church. You don't know how they still call it that. Okay.
But a lot of hurtful things are said up there, or some personal things that only the pastor and that person knows. And, that triggers some things. Right. And then it's like, man, flip this. Or
you can say fuck. It's not, we got an explicit rating. It's okay.
But, that they come with the mindset, I'd rather deal with the streets than deal with the church, because the people that's supposed to be praying for me comes to find out is talking about me behind my back. And these people have the same Holy Spirit that other people have, and they can pick up this stuff just like you can.
Right.
They can pick up the false stuff or the unsincereness. They pick up this stuff. They can sense this stuff just like you can sense whatever that person is dealing with. We forget about that.
Right.
And I think in the church we have to learn we have to teach how, basically in reality, customer service skills.
Church ain't ready for that now. I don't think they have progressed that much.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Because think about it. You go to this restaurant. I know me. I'm picky. I'm the most. Anybody that knows, they know I'm the pick. My wife will tell you. All it takes is a restaurant one time. I hear anything bad. I sometimes stop people, especially if I really like the restaurant. Don't tell me, because I'm gonna stop going there.
Okay.
And it's just like that with churches. And then we want to talk about people who are church hopping, but we don't want to talk about the real issue of why they're church hopping, because they're gaining hurt from one place to another, and they're still moving, they're trying to find God. Yeah, you have to find God for yourself.
Right.
But some of these people, and we get into the hype. We both been there. Let's keep it.
We can keep it real. I can take you back to a couple of churches that I've gone to where it's been form of godliness, denying the power thereof, or whatever y'all be saying.
But and we talk about this stuff, and they're moving from place to place, and they're gaining more weight of hurt. And they're trying to move forward in life. They're trying to move forward in their purpose. But now they're so discouraged because they've been beat up so much. And the pastors talk, and they're giving their opinion. They're giving their side of it, talking to each other about this one person, not realizing before this person came to you, they was already dealing with some stuff.
Right. See, that's the part.
Yeah, and because they were dealing with some mental stuff, here we go again. You're not a skilled therapist. You're not a licensed therapist to deal with this stuff. And you try to help them get through it. Yeah, I do believe in prayer. But sometimes God put therapists here for a reason.
Talk about it now.
So we have to get to that point where, okay, maybe we need to suggest a therapist. We will still be praying for you. But now I'm at my road where God is telling me you can't go further.
Right.
Who is that couldn't go with Moses? He couldn't go into the promised land with them. I may not can carry you into that promised land, but here is somebody else that can carry you the rest of the way.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what the church needs to learn.
Well, you say you ain't no minister, you don't like that title no more, but you just preached the word. Hello. So, but yeah, I mean, as you were speaking, I was like literally thinking about my own church hurt, and we ain't gonna get into all of that today, but it definitely brought up a lot of feelings. And what it does take me back to is I did my internship for my counseling program at a place called Pastoral Institute in Columbus, Georgia. And we actually did have people who were clergy who went there for their clinical training. Like they went through, I think, the MDiv program and received their ability to do counseling. And they had to go through the same training courses, but they were able to get fully licensed if the program was, I think, KCREP accredited. But sometimes people do that. So there are ministers out there who have gone through that process. And I do agree with some pastoral counseling as it relates to like just, maybe premarital counseling, because a lot of people are not really trying to pay a therapist for premarital therapy or counseling. And I get it. But when you start dealing with those process issues, when you start dealing with that childhood trauma or those other issues that you're not skilled to, that's when you have to see that stop sign and have to really be like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and refer them to somebody. Just don't refer them to me.
Well, I'm gonna say you're a good one, because I don't even prefer premarital counseling. So
wow. Yeah, and the only reason I do is because there's a lot of people getting married and there are not enough therapists out there to be able to do all of this premarital counseling. So we need some of that help because we're trying to deal with people who are dealing with like those core issues that are impacting their lives. And so, yeah, if it's like couples therapy because y'all having communication issues, yes, go see a licensed marriage and family therapist. But if it's like, oh, we want to get married, we want to make sure we check these boxes so you'll marry us, then obviously you're going to have to go down that path in order to be able to get that little discount for applying for a marriage license in some states. So I get it, but thank you so much for shedding light on, just how to be relentless, how to live your life in this unapologetic way where you're able to really motivate others to be able to pursue their dreams and pursue the things that are meaningful to them. So any last words that you want to share with the people about, just how they can be relentless? And then I'll have you share a little bit more about how they can reach you.
Well, I'll say this.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of you have a purpose. God has put a purpose within each one of you. But of course, a lot of things get in our way. Fear, doubt, people. A lot of it is people. Right. A lot of times people plant those seeds in us. But you have to get to that place where you can tune them out. You have to dig deep. For some people, it may take some other strategies. I know for me, I had to dig deep.
Yeah.
And I had, like I said, I go back to the beast. You got to pull that beast out of you. Some of you, it may be the bear. Some people, it may be the eagle. For me, it was the lion.
I think I'm an eagle girl.
But find what works for you and let nothing stop you. Be relentless and go after it.
Wow. Powerful word. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening and really just being able to come through and bless this podcast with your expertise, because you are one of the people that really made this possible and really pushed me to go after it, even though I didn't want to, and I have all sorts of fear about it. So thank you so much. So please tell people, how can they follow you? How can they purchase your books? How can they sign up for life coaching? Just give it all to them so that they know how they can reach out and get connected with you.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Both handles are Noel Motivates. You can find my Facebook group page, Relentless Motivational Group, LLC. My website, relentlessmotivationalgroup.com. And if you want to email me about some coaching. I also do podcast coaching. I got a course coming soon. Just throwing that out there.
All right. You signing up.
You can email me at knoel@relentlessmotivationalgroup.com. So yeah, those are my handles.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Self-Aware and Effed Up. It is your girl, Tree the LPC. Make sure you guys also follow me on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. You can also visit my website, uniquedestiny.org, for more information about the different projects that I have going on and to purchase any t-shirts, any journals, anything that you guys want. I have a lot of merch out there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please continue to stay tuned. Next week, we'll be coming back with an amazing guest, Twyla Wright will be joining us talking about the school counseling and different things that as it relates to challenges within the school system, school shootings. We'll be talking about a lot of things on next week's episode. So please stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As I said, be safe, be well. Please take care of yourselves. Peace and love.